Going.
Pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Are you a Bible believer or a Christian?
Yeah, I am.
Cool. For how long?
Um, Probably about 12 years, 12, 10.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. And do you subscribe to any like specific denomination, or do you not care about that?
I would say I'm Pentecostal because we do believe in the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So yeah,
Right.
like
I
speaking
got
in
you.
tongues and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, cool. Do you take the position that homosexuality, LGBT plus people are wrong?
So due to TikTok, banning folks for talking about this, I'm gonna be very careful with my words. Because
Sure.
I've seen
Would you prefer
some
a different
folks.
topic? I could go back to something I had like yesterday or something.
Yeah, what are the topic? Because TikTok, they're quite sensitive on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no,
I
I,
don't want
I,
to.
I understand, and I don't want to, like make you feel like you have to censor yourself too much or whatever. So I don't want it to be like, problematic or a hassle. So I understand. What about something like this? How can we tell the Bible is true, and why should it be followed? Especially when it contains massive claims that we don't have any evidence to support, like the resurrection of Jesus, when it has weird, conflicting doctrinal beliefs that different denominations have issues with, like free
Right.
will. And why should we follow it when the God in there allows such abhorrent things like slavery?
Well, I would say the Bible is very authentic because, first of all, it tells us what was, without, sort of like adding or subtracting. I'll give you an example. Like if you look at the like Egypt, their mythologies, it's all about them winning, right? So it's about their victories. They don't really tell you the negative side, but the Bible, despite the Bible's, focusing on one nation, Israel, God Himself literally destroyed that nation, right, because of their rebellion. So it's not biased, right? It's That's what I'm saying. Like it's telling us what was, and if you believe it, kudos to you. But if you don't, you're missing out. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and I would say also it does reflect the world we live in right now because no one can explain why there's evil in the world, but the Bible does. So yeah.
Well, I think a lot of religions explain why there's evil, but giving a reason as to why is cool, but how do we know that reason is the truth? That's what I'm getting for. So I get that the Bible gives me a reason. I want to know, how do I know that reason is true?
Well, you have to, like I'll say, you got to do your research because I don't want to tell you that the
Sure.
Bible is the truth if you haven't done your research. To me, I do believe it's the truth and it's reasonable, as to why things are the way it is. I don't think other religions necessarily. Like I'll give you an example: the Quran. The Quran doesn't tell you why the world is the way it is. It tells you that Allah made people to be slaves and all that, but that's not true. I mean that isn't even a representation of what God should be, because if God created everything, He should love His creation as a father would, right? But it's definitely the opposite. I don't know about Hindu or other religions like Luciferian. I've heard that before,
Right.
but from my experience, I do believe that the Bible tells you why literally there's evil in the world, and it's reasonable.
Okay. Again, I'm more going for how we know it's true and why it should be followed. So, let's take the resurrection. What evidence can we look at to say that the resurrection of Jesus actually happened?
Well, there are writings of Pontius Pilate, literally huffing or shutting up people that believe that Jesus was resurrected. So that's
I
a huge claim.
I
Also,
have never actually seen those. Do you know where I can find those?
that's in, oh my God, it's from this historian. This Roman historian. Sorry, I don't remember his name. Tacitus, something Tacitus. I
My
can't say that name.
I've read a decent amount from Tacitus, and I have not seen him say anything about Pilate having writings that document him shutting people up about Jesus' resurrection.
Not
As far
necessarily
as I'm
writing.
concerned, Pilate never even acknowledged Jesus after the crucifixion again.
Actually, he did, but it's not
Okay,
about like it's
and
not the
when
writing. It's not him writing it. Like one of his witnesses are surrounding him, right? So they were trying to shut the people that saw Jesus resurrect, right? And that's why we have Christianity as sort of like a massive, you know, um, movement, right? And also, if you look at the disciples, they were willing to unalive for this Christ, right? For
sure,
what
but
he
dying for something doesn't make that belief true.
well,
You would agree,
well,
right? Because Islam has martyrs as well. Native
well,
American tribes had martyrs when they were colonized and stuff, and they were um, there are certain chiefs who went down as quote unquote martyrs because they were told, "Hey, you should convert to Christianity," and they said, "Absolutely not. I don't know your God. I know my gods." So there are martyrs everywhere for all things. That doesn't mean that the belief the martyr had when they died is the truth.
but there's a credibility as to
Oh no, not
you
at all.
know. Well, I mean, like for example, me right now, if someone would come to me and tell me, "Hey, man, I'm from God, whatever," and I didn't see no miracle, I didn't see no nothing supernatural. Do you think I would honor life for this person? I'm just asking you a question, like reasoning.
Maybe, maybe
Like, why would I do that?
because you might believe them.
Okay, but I told you that he said he proved that he's from God, right? So obviously
Who
he
did?
must show me some sort of supernatural, miracle or whatever for me to believe in him, and he never
No,
showed
no.
me that. So I wouldn't.
I talk to Christians all the time that believe certain people were sent to them by God with absolutely no miraculous showing or anything like that. They just feel the confirmation in their spirit.
Well, that's because they believe that Jesus actually existed. But I'm telling you, if Jesus never existed, right, and someone came to me, I had no idea that even God can come down to the earth, right?
Mhm.
Someone came to me and say he's God, right? And then he never performed any supernatural miracle. Like he just acted like a regular human. Do you think I would honor life for this person?
I don't know. Maybe it depends on if you got convinced or not.
Okay, okay. If you look at the Bible,
So,
right? Wait,
so
but wait.
what evidence do we have to say that Jesus did any miracles of any kind?
Well, if you look at the Bible, right, the
The
disciples.
Bible is not evidence. The Bible is the
No,
claim.
no,
I'm
I'm
asking
not.
for evidence.
No, I'm telling you what was written there. So if you may,
I know what
if you
was
let me.
written there.
Okay, so the disciples kept questioning Jesus about his divinity, right?
Yeah,
And
the
Jesus said,
disciples didn't get it. Yeah.
well, Jesus said actually that because I have to show you guys that I'm from God, is why I'm doing these miracles. So you believe in me. He literally said that with his own mouth. So if he didn't show any sort of miracle or proving that he's from God, they wouldn't believe him and they would not honor life for this Christ. It's just fact. But they,
Really? Because
in
he
addition,
walked on the water and they were like, wow, what kind of man is this? So
despite it,
clearly, showing miracles doesn't get the job done.
well, despite walking on water, reading their minds, telling them the future, they still were in doubt that maybe he's just a witch or something.
Exactly. So
But if,
you agree with me that miracles don't seem to do anything here. So
no, but
where's the evidence that we can say Jesus Christ in real life did any miracles?
it was the resurrection that changed everything.
But we don't have any evidence for the resurrection.
But we have the disciples spreading the gospels and getting unalive for it.
That's not evidence of the
And,
resurrection,
and
though.
also and also the persecutions of the Christians documented by the Romans.
Okay, lots of people get
So
persecuted. That doesn't mean that their thing is true.
okay, so why did the Romans call them Christians? Where did that come from? Where did that word come from?
Yeah, it was a mockery. It was basically like a little Christ.
A mockery?
Yes, the term Christian was originally like a derogatory term.
Okay, but where's the source? Where does that come from?
Um, I could send that to
Jesus
you
Christ,
actually.
right? It came from
I'm
Jesus
sorry,
Christ,
what?
bro.
No,
It came from Jesus Christ.
Jesus never used the word Christian. Jesus never called anyone a
I
Christian.
know, but I'm
So
saying the
no,
source came from his name itself, Christ.
no. But Jesus himself didn't say that. So it did not come from Jesus.
I'm not. I never said Jesus said. I said where did the source, like where that come from? So it came from his name,
Yeah, like I
meaning
said, it
that
was a mockery for those that were following Jesus, the little Christ.
Okay, okay, a mockery.
Yes, the term Christian was originally a derogatory term.
Okay,
So,
so
so I,
really, I
yeah.
don't believe that.
So Randall, please, I'm really trying to get to something very specific here. The truth of these claims. We've been talking about the claims. I want the truth. What is the actual evidence that we can say that Jesus did miracles or resurrected from the dead?
Well, I just told you it was the witness. So it's up to you to believe it or not. I'm not. I can't tell
Well,
you
if I
because I
if I
wasn't there.
believe your
So I
witness
believe
for
by faith, bro.
Jesus, then I have to believe the witness for Mohammed, and I have to believe the witnesses for every religion of every myth and every god out there. I can't just take, oh, someone said they saw a thing, therefore it must be true. I need evidence that that thing actually happened.
Well, I'll advise you to read the Quran if you think that it's actually something that happened.
No, I don't think
Okay.
that. No, I think the Quran is
Because
just as garbage as the Bible.
um, I disagree because the Quran has some outrageous nonsense in there, and
Yeah,
it's
so does the
just not.
Bible.
No, no, no. See, the difference is Muhammad actually confirmed Jesus, right? So Jesus is his own source, but Muhammad is just citing something that was previous. You do know that, right?
Okay, the Bible does that too.
Where does the
Nothing.
Bible cite from? Where does it cite from?
The New Testament attempts to cite the Old Testament quite a lot, especially in the Gospels.
Wait,
But
okay, okay.
they mess up a lot of the translations, a lot of the wording, especially
Wait.
when it comes to like prophecies, which shows that a lot of the people like Jesus, like the disciples that were trying to recall this back to the Old Testament, clearly didn't understand the language or what they were talking about.
Do they believe in the same God?
Muslims and Christians,
No, no, no. The New Testament folks and the Old Testament, do they believe in the same God?
it's the same God.
Okay. Do Muslims believe in the same God as the Christian God?
They believe in the same God as Yahweh goes, but they don't accept Jesus
No, they
as
don't.
part of that.
No, they don't believe in the same God because in
Yes,
the Old Testament, the Torah, right, it says that God is a father. They don't believe that. So they have a different God. And also in the Torah, God came down to the earth and created humans. They don't believe that. So it's not the same God. So I don't
it is
see
still it's the
why.
God of Abraham. It's
But
the God of Abraham.
anyone can say the God of Abraham, but it doesn't mean they're talking about that actual God because they
They
don't affirm
okay,
what
all
he
right, cool.
did.
You that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So
Okay, but you said right, the New Testament stole from the Old Testament. I'm asking you,
no, I'm
was it
saying
the
that
same
yeah, I'm
God?
saying that the New Testament tries to make reference of the Old Testament a lot.
You do realize the Old Testament fulfills the New Testament, right, and vice versa.
No,
So that's what I'm saying. If you read the Bible, right,
I have
the
read the
Old
Bible.
Testament, the Old Testament tells us the beginning. What does the New Testament tells us?
The time of Jesus and Paul.
No, the New Testament tells us the end.
Mm,
It's all in hierarchy. So they are not separate; they're together. So you saying that they're copying? I don't understand what you mean by that.
I'm because again, we have people like in the Gospels, they try to make reference of Old Testament passages and prophecies.
Yeah,
So we
because
have
they're affirming.
people that were later writing things, copying what people said previous.
Wait. They were not copying; they were quoting. Like Jude, he quoted from the book of Enoch, right? They are quoting
Sure,
to affirm
sure.
the
What
message.
has the Quran copied? Oh, I'm sorry. What has the Quran quoted? My
The,
point is
the
that everything that
the
you keep
Quran is
bringing
not
up to
it's
knock the
not
Quran,
quoting.
I could say about the Bible. Like the
No,
Quran
the
having
Quran is
wild
not.
and insane passages, the Bible has God allowing slavery, sex slavery,
Okay,
and
yeah.
things
If
of
you
that
want to talk
sort.
about that, that's fine.
So
We can talk about slavery.
how can you say that? Oh well, that book has insane passages while ignoring the insane passages in your own.
Well, I never ignored the Old Testament and what
Okay,
God did. I do. I mean, it's in the Bible, so it's understandable. I
so do
mean,
you
it's
think
all about
slavery is okay?
understanding. Did God stop slavery?
Do you think slavery is okay?
Slavery is not okay, but did God
So
start
what?
slavery? Is the question.
No, I don't.
Okay, what was the first? What was the
I
first?
have made no claim that God started slavery. I
Okay,
said
wait. Let me
God
ask you a
allowed
question.
it in His law. So
What was the
why
first?
would God allow slavery in His law?
Yeah, because we have to understand, right? So, what was the first mention of slavery in the Bible?
I think it had to do with Abraham. Now, listen.
Actually, so it was Israel getting, into captivity by the Egyptians, right? So they went to Egypt and they
No,
were
I think it was.
slaves for
I think it
400
was
years.
Abraham receiving slaves from Pharaoh or what, or the king that he tricked.
Okay, but the
So
point.
again,
Well, wait.
this has nothing to do with what I asked. I asked you, why would God allow slavery in His law?
Okay, so God allowed slavery because His people, the nation, were at war with different nations.
Okay.
And also, let me finish, man. Let me finish. Let me finish. It was a way to spoil the people because you could have slaves from other nations, and likewise, other nations could do the same. So slavery back then was a transaction. Okay, it's no because we are thinking, oh, slavery, like what happened in the
I didn't
1950s
say
or whatever.
anything about that. Please don't try to assume what I'm taking slavery to be.
Okay, but I'm just telling you.
You can ask, and I'll tell you that slavery is the act or practice of people owning people as property.
Well, was it a transaction?
Yes, if you buy somebody, there is a
Okay,
transaction,
okay. So if
but
okay,
not always,
okay.
not always, because
Yeah,
there
I
are
agree with
other
you.
ways that biblically one could acquire a slave, such as a prisoner of war or or a child that is born to a slave you already have. That child is now also your slave.
Right, right, right. I do agree with you,
So
but
those are not
most
transactions. So no, not all slavery in the Bible involved transactions.
well, I'm just saying that most of it was transactional,
No,
right?
I would think
Because
most of it was probably prisoners of
okay,
war.
okay, okay, okay. So God gave the law in the land, right? If someone owes you money, right, or you're in debt with someone, like
Mhm,
your fellow Israelites, if you
mhm.
couldn't pay back, you're a slave to them, right?
No. So you're talking about indentured servitude. We find that in Exodus 21. So if a Hebrew found themselves in debt or unable to pay to another Hebrew, they would enter this contract for 7 years where they would work it off for them, basically, and then after that time period, they
Okay,
would go
what is
free.
that? What is that? What is
That's
that? Isn't
indentured
that slavery?
servitude
Why don't you want to say it's slavery?
because it is not the act or practice of someone owning someone as property. But what we do see in Leviticus 25:44 through 46 is God saying to his people that of the non Hebrews, they can go and acquire slaves from them. And the non Hebrews that live with them, those can be your slaves. Those you can own as property forever. You can pass them on as inheritance to your kids. But don't forget, do not treat your fellow Hebrew harshly. So God made it very clear the Hebrews are not slaves. The non Hebrews you can have as slaves and you can own them forever and pass them on to your kids. And he put protections against mistreatments for the Hebrews, but did not do that for the non Hebrew slaves. That is what I'm
Yeah,
calling
because
slavery. When the
okay,
Hebrews owned non Hebrews as property forever, as their God said they could.
do you remember what I said about that? I said because God was spoiling his people, and also they were at war with different nations.
Why
Like
does God
most
have to
nations
spoil his
wanted the
people as
Iraq.
slaves?
Well, it's just because they were in captivity in Egypt for many, many years, and
So,
the most important thing.
have you ever heard two wrongs don't make a right? So
Well, let me
why,
finish.
because they were slaves, does that mean they can then take slaves?
No, 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 no. It's also. I think this is what's very important because other nations wanted to eradicate the Jews. Okay, it's that simple. So God was sparing other nations by allowing the Israelites to own them as slaves because He gave commands to wipe some of these nations out. Right?
Why
You're
couldn't God just
familiar with
protect
that.
his people?
Well, He has enemies that want to like eradicate them,
I
bro.
don't
It's a
understand how
war.
that
It's a
means that you
war
can go
zone,
and
bro.
enslave people. Why does that mean
Me,
that
I
you can
see.
then go and kill those men, enslave those women and children?
Well, I know it's a little, it's not easy to understand it, but I feel like, that's how God showed mercy, to be honest.
Explain to me how it's merciful to
Well,
be
because you were
dehumanized
not,
and degraded to the point where you're an object to be owned.
you see, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the way you're thinking about slavery right now isn't what it was back then, because you're just thinking
It
that,
literally is. I'm using God's own words to
well,
describe it.
well, I'm saying, how did the
You have
Israelites
taken a
treat the
person
non-Jews?
and you have made them property. You are owning them forever. There are no protections for them against mistreatment.
Okay,
That is from
bro.
the mouth of God. How can you
How
say
did
that that is good and just?
how did the Israelites treat them? Do you know?
How can you say that that is good and just?
No, no, no. It's just the law, right? But I'm asking you, how did the Israelites treat them?
That's
Do
not
you,
what I asked, sir.
oh,
Please,
okay, okay. So you
I
don't
have
know.
I only have a handful of minutes left, and I'm trying to get you to stay on point. I asked a
I'm
very
on point,
specific
bro.
question, and you're just dodging it by trying to bring up something else. God is supposed to be good, perfect, and just. Why is it that in his perfect law did he allow people to engage in a barbaric practice where they literally take other people and own them as property forever?
I'm glad you said just. So what were the Amalekites doing, bro? Could you
Again,
tell me?
this isn't answering my question.
Okay,
Stop bringing up other
I
things.
gotta use examples, bro, so
How
you
is it
can
good and
understand.
just to allow slavery?
I just told you when God judges a nation, right? He sometimes spares the lives of those nations, but those that are the nation that is trying to, you know, take over, they are allowed to own as slaves. As per God, it's just how it is. You can accept it, you can
Why?
reject it,
Why? I'm
because the
asking
nation was
why.
under judgment, so they were gonna be destroyed regardless. So God showed mercy. That's how you can think of it.
It's better to be a slave than to die?
Um, in some situations, yeah.
So not in all situations.
No, it depends on how you see it. I'll say that it's subjective, right? Like some people, they don't
Yeah,
want to.
exactly. I would
They're
agree.
afraid of
It depends on the
unalignment, right?
individual.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So it's
so
subjective,
you
right?
cannot say that, well, it's better to be a slave than die, and that's why God took mercy on them by making them slaves and killing them. That doesn't make any sense
No, 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 no.
because
That's not
then
what I
if
said.
I point out a passage where God says kill them, you're just going to justify that instead. So again, slavery. You told me in the very beginning when we started this, slavery is not good. And I told you slavery is the act or practice of people owning people as property. We agreed on that.
Mhm.
And now
Right.
you are bending over backwards to try to justify why your God is allowing this. And I don't understand why. You're just simply saying it's better than dying. I'm sorry. Slavery is still abhorrent. One wrong thing does not make another wrong thing better.
All throughout the Bible, we see God's judgment on nations, right? And when God places judgment, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So again, because
Okay,
He's
so might makes
merciful.
right. Is that what
No,
you're
no,
saying?
no. It's just how God works. You gotta understand His nature. He's gonna judge evil, bro. So when these
And
nations do
slavery is evil.
abomination, wait, bro,
Slavery
bro,
is evil.
though,
You can't judge
wait,
evil with more evil.
wait,
That's
bro, wait.
contradictory, and that makes you not good and not just.
But when nations do abominations, right? It requires justice, correct? Like the Egyptians, right? What did they do? They unalive all the Jews firstborn. Why aren't you talking about that, bro?
No,
So when
that's
God,
what Pharaoh did. Pharaoh did that. So why
uh,
was Pharaoh not the only one punished? Why did God have to go and kill all the firstborn of all the citizens, even the slaves? That is cruel. That is
did
injustice.
did the people
When you see someone that does a crime and you decide to punish everyone, including children, for it, that makes you unjust.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Can Pharaoh rule without an army? As a matter of fact, does he
Pharaoh
have
had
a
an army.
country? Oh, wait. Does he have a country without an army?
I don't understand how this justifies slavery.
No, I'm no, I'm going to tell you how. So does
I
Pharaoh?
already answered your question. So
Okay.
how does this
So the
justify
answer is no,
God
right?
allowing slavery?
So the answer is no. So you need an army in order for
I
you
said
to even
Pharaoh
be
had an
king.
army.
Okay, so those army they supported
You
what
need to
Pharaoh
start paying
did, right?
attention, and I need you. I have 1 minute left. Please
Well,
explain to me
well,
how slavery is a
bro,
good and just thing.
I just told you, but you don't want to accept my answer. There's nothing I can do anymore.
Your
Really?
answer was this is what God chose to punish them with, so that just is what it is.
No, I
That's
said
not an
they're under
answer.
judgment. I said they're under judgment. So it was an act
Yeah,
of mercy.
but slavery
You
is
know,
evil and cruel. So slavery should never be the
How
way to
how
deal
did
with
the
this.
Israelites how did the Israelites treat the non-Israelites? Tell me.
Like I said, I'm only talking about God's law.
Bro, you
I'm
see what I'm
sorry.
saying? Like
Are you running from this? When God
no,
with
I'm
His
not
own
running,
mouth,
bro. You don't want to
listen, sir,
accept my
listen,
answer,
sir.
bro.
When
That's
God with
simple.
His own mouth says these are the people that you can own as property, and slavery itself is oppression. So the Hebrews were oppressing these people. And God says, by the way,
The Hebrews were.
I'm placing
Can you prove it in the
protections against
scripture?
mistreatment on
Can you
Hebrews,
prove it
but
in
I
the
will do no
scriptures,
such
bro?
thing for the non-Hebrew slaves.
Can
Then
you prove
how
it in the
else are we
scriptures,
supposed to take this other than God doesn't care about the slaves and
bro?
that
Did you hear what you said? You
what?
said the Hebrews are oppressing these people. So where is
Yes,
it in the scripture
yes,
that we're doing that?
slavery is oppression.
Bro, no, no. Tell me where is it that is written in the scripture.
When it says that they enslaved them.
No. Show me that the Hebrews oppressed this nation. Show
Yes,
me. Go
when they
ahead.
took slaves. You can look at Deuteronomy 20, Deuteronomy
So,
21, and Numbers 31. All examples of
okay.
the Israelites oppressing others.
Okay, I've been to some nations, right? And they do
I'm
have
sorry, it's
servant.
7 o'clock. I have to get back inside to
Okay.
my job. Um,
All
but
right, man. It's
I
all
think
right,
it's
bro.
wild that you don't think slavery is oppression. That's fucking
No.
crazy. But thanks for
It's
your time. I appreciate it. You can come back a different day. It is 7 o'clock.